Hola a todo el mundo y bienvenido a mi canal. Yo me llamo Sirey. Soy una abogada afrolatina licenciada practicando la ley criminal, pero como todos ustedes, a mí me fascina cuando estamos hablando de casos de crímenes reales. En este video vamos a seguir hablando de Donna Adelson. Si quieren más video en español, nada más dime allá abajo. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Desiree. I'm a licensed and practicing Afro-Latina criminal attorney who, much like the rest of you, has a severe fascination with true crime cases. Listen, last week we discussed the entire second week of Donna Sue Adelson's trial. She's on trial right now, if you guys will remember, for a conspiracy to commit murder and the first-degree murder of her son-in-law or former son-in-law, Dan Markel. I told you guys that I wanted to make it through the entire trial, and guess what? This is the last week of it. So without further ado, let's discuss the third full week of the trial of the matriarch of the Adelson family, Donna Sue Adelson. The third and final week of Donna's trial continued on Tuesday, September 2nd of 2025. If you guys are questioning, well, why did it continue on Tuesday? Remember, Monday, September 1st was actually a holiday, Labor Day. So court wasn't in session, and so the trial continued on that Tuesday. When things resumed on this morning, defense argued their MJOA, or their motion for judgment of acquittal. We've talked about this before, but I'm just here to remind you guys that it is typical. MJOA motions, or motions for judgment of acquittal, are typical. They are standard. It has happened in every trial that I have ever done. It is typical. So what happens is that at the close of prosecution's case in chief, defense will orally argue an MJOA, or a motion for judgment of acquittal. In essence, what they're saying to the court is, listen, judge, after listening to all the evidence, we don't believe that the prosecution can meet each and every element of all the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. So we're asking you to dismiss some, or all. Depends on who the defense attorney is. But basically, they're asking the court to dismiss the charges. Now, why that shouldn't be of a concern? Everyone knows it's going to happen. The prosecutors know, the defense attorneys know they have to raise it. The judge knows it's going to happen. Everyone knows it's going to happen. The standard when ruling on a motion for judgment of acquittal is the light most favorable to the prosecution. So meaning, even if defense makes a few good points here and there, in viewing the light most favorable to the prosecution, can the jurors reasonably believe that there is enough evidence to convict Donna Sue Adelson of the charges pending against her? That is what the court has to rule. And I think we can all agree that there is. And so did the judge.
Right. The legal standard the court must apply at this point is reviewing the evidence in the light most favorable to the state. I believe in Turner versus State 29 Southern 3rd 361. In moving for a judgment of acquittal, the defendant admits the facts and evidence in every conclusion favorable to the state that may be reasonably inferred from the evidence. As to the direct evidence, the circumstantial evidence, and also the consciousness of guilt evidence taken together, I believe this is sufficient to overcome the matter that was raised in Williams versus State. The motion for judgment of acquittal will be denied at this time. Does the defense, as to counts 1 and 3 specifically of the indictment, does the defense have any other motions to raise?
After the court denied defense's motion for judgment of acquittal, defense put on their case. I want to remind you guys, because it's just important that we continue to talk about these things, because I want to ingrain it into your beautiful minds. I know how intelligent you guys are. I read all of your comments. I know that you're keeping up. I know everything about you just from these few videos. Kidding. But regardless, defense does not have to put on any case. The burden remains with the prosecution in any criminal case. That's just what it is. Here, Donna and her defense team decided to put on a case, and they're allowed to if they choose to, but it is not required of them. So keep that in mind as we go through what happened during defense's case in chief. The first defense witness who testified was Donna and Harvey's friend, a woman by the name of Ann Cunningham, and right after Ann, her life partner, Ron Gutterson, testified as well.
With respect to Mrs. Adelson and your observations of her over these, I guess, 15 years, have you found her to be a hateful person?
Never.
Is she aggressive towards others?
Never.
Have you ever heard her threaten anyone?
Never.
Have you ever seen her harm anyone?
Never.
Have you ever heard her threaten to have somebody harmed?
No.
Did she ever make statements to you? Well, let me ask you this first. You were friends with her, obviously, when Wendi was going through her divorce.
Yes.
During that time period, through the divorce, and up to the time that Danny Markell was killed, you're aware that he was murdered?
Yes.
Okay. At any time during that period, did she ever say she wanted to have Danny Markell killed?
Never.
Ever say she wanted him to be harmed?
Never.
She got upset, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how is it that she displayed her anger over that situation?
She would be frustrated, and then she would calm down, and she told me that she...
Okay, you can't say what she said.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But during that time period, did she ever do anything other than vent to you about it?
Never.
Did she ever claim she was going to do anything?
Never.
Before we talk about what she might have said to you, at the time that you spoke to Mrs. Adelson, was it the day that Danny was murdered?
When he was shot, yes.
Okay. And yeah, I use murdered because obviously he didn't pass away until the next day, but
Yes.
he was shot and barely surviving on the 18th. So that's when I refer to that. That's why I say that.
Yes.
Date. Okay. So when you spoke to her, did she call you or did you call her? Do you recall?
She called me.
Okay. And when she called you, did she appear to be upset?
Very.
Was she crying?
Yes.
Was her tone of voice, based on your knowledge of her for the 15 years, did she seem to be upset?
Very.
Okay. Did she seem to be at a point in time where she had just learned what had occurred?
Yes.
Did she indicate to you whether she had just learned that this had happened?
Yes.
Okay.
She
And
did.
I'm sorry?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And during the course of your discussion with her about what had transpired, did she continue with this state of mind that she was upset?
Yes.
Okay. And while she was upset, what did she indicate to you?
She told me that Danny had been shot and that they were going to Tallahassee and that she was very concerned and worried about Wendi and the boys, whether they were in danger.
Okay.
Because
And
she did not know who had shot him.
okay. And did she indicate whether she was concerned about Danny and him being in the hospital?
Absolutely.
Okay.
After the conviction, did you become aware that Harvey and Donna were trying to travel to clear their heads?
Yes.
Did you know whether or not that was a permanent move or was it temporary?
It was, to the best of my knowledge, a temporary move. It was approximately November, and they were coming back in January or February for their youngest grandchild's bar mitzvah.
So, although they were traveling, they made it clear that they'd be back for the bar mitzvah.
Yes, Donna had told Annie that she purchased the dress.
Can't say what somebody else said. Just you.
Yes, I was aware they were going to return.
Under any set of circumstances, would they not have returned?
I don't know. Under normal circumstances, they would move heaven and earth to be there for that traditional occasion.
So, as far as my opinions on the testimony of Anne and her life partner, Ron, I will tell you this. It's going to be kind of a confusing explanation, but I will tell you exactly what I'm thinking right now. I think that both of them testified truthfully, but I also believe that there's not much credibility in their truth. Does that make sense? So basically what I'm saying is I believe them when they say that they knew all of this stuff and that Donna and Harvey had previously conveyed all of this information to them and that Donna called and orchestrated this woeful, just sad, sappy situation where she was super sad over Charlie's conviction and or Dan's murder. I believe all of that. I believe that these things happened. But I also believe that Donna is that calculated that she would set all of this up in order for people to have the ability to come and testify and say exactly what they said. So I believe they told the truth. But again, I don't believe there's much credibility in what they said because Donna is a snake. Got it? Anyways, let's carry on. Following Anne and her life partner, Ron, another one of Donna and Harvey's friends, a man by the name of Richard Shagran, I'm hopefully pronouncing that right, took the stand as well.
Prior to this, you indicated that you had traveled with my client and her husband. Did you travel extensively on your own?
Well, we went on cruises, and then we did there was 13 of us, did 2 weeks in Israel.
Were you somewhat savvier than they when it comes to booking travel?
Oh yeah, I've been to 75 countries around the world.
Okay. And were you asked to assist them in any way on November 7th of 2023?
Yes.
And specifically, what were you asked to do?
Initially, I helped Donna with the visa. And then when we were done applying for the visa, Donna took Susan to show her the dress that she bought for Lincoln's bar mitzvah. And then she asked Harvey to sit down with me and make plane reservations.
Okay. When you sat down to assist with the reservations, what did you discover?
The ironic thing was that the round trip was a fraction more than one way. And I suggested, since you don't know when you're coming back until sometime in January, book a one way. And I remember commenting to Harvey, I said, I'd be willing to bet it's cheaper to fly from Vietnam to the United States than it is from the United States to Vietnam.
In his testimony, Richard said that he was actually the one who advised Donna and Harvey to book a one-way flight to Vietnam, as round-trip tickets were too expensive. Richard also testified that it was the Adelsons' expectation to return, and they requested a 90-day visa because they wanted to come back and see their grandson's bar mitzvah. So my opinions on that are, it's just not believable. This is a family that was able to offer up $1 million to Dan Markel, or at least plan to offer him $1 million in exchange for custody of the children and allowing Wendi to relocate. But now all of a sudden y'all broke. And now I want to say to the naysayers who are probably like, well, Desiree, we know that the Adelson Institute is no longer in business, so they probably don't have the same amount of money. And I agree with you. But is a round trip ticket for two people, so I guess 2 round trip tickets to Vietnam, you telling me that's going to cost $1 million? They had it. They had it. I believe that Richard told them to do that. Maybe. Potentially. But it doesn't negate the fact that it looks odd. Defense also called 2 private investigators, Tarana Khan and Eddie Varnes, who testified that they both did jail interviews with Patricia Bird, and what she said during their interviews of her was just a little different than what she testified to on the stand. So I understand, as far as strategy is concerned, why the defense attorneys would call investigators to say that they interviewed this woman and what she said previously wasn't really what she said on the stand, right? They're trying to impeach her credibility. They're trying to make sure that none of the jurors actually believe what she had to say. And I think, at least for me, it backfired, but I'm a lawyer, so maybe you guys can let me know if you disagree. And here's why. I want to instill in you that although it is required of a person to come and testify, should a subpoena be issued, that's prosecution or defense. If there is a criminal subpoena, you are under the power of the court. And here's this little piece of paper that's telling you that you must show. You must present yourself on this date, this time, this courthouse. You will be there. There is no such requirement as far as meetings with either side, prosecution or defense, is concerned. So what I'm saying is, if there's a hostile witness and there's someone who just doesn't want to come, doesn't want to testify, doesn't want to cooperate, they don't really have a requirement to come and meet you and trial prep with you before trial. So the fact that what these investigators are saying is that Patricia previously said something, And now she added more, not that she said something different, but she added more to what she previously said, doesn't really hold weight for me. She didn't have to talk to you to begin with. That's just what it is. That testimony actually took us into the next day of trial, Wednesday, September 3rd of 2025. On this day, defense began by calling Wendy's former divorce attorney, Kristen Adamson. So in case you guys are wondering to yourselves, well, Desiree, how on earth is Kristen able to testify as to her representation of Wendi? It's my understanding, and I want you guys to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that she mostly testified as to the documents that were filed into the case, and that's totally appropriate. It's my understanding that she did not testify much, if at all, about her private communications with Wendi, but to the extent that I am wrong, and that did occur, my assumption is that she was required to get a written waiver from Wendi for attorney-client privilege. As far as her testimony itself, I will say that I found her to be a little, I'm going to say condescending, I guess for lack of a better word. As you guys, I'm sure, are aware, not all lawyers specialize in everything, much like not all doctors specialize in everything. I am a criminal attorney. That's what I tell you guys about. That's my expertise. I do criminal law, right? I'm not a divorce attorney. I'm not an estate attorney. I don't do civil litigation. That's not what I do. So for this divorce attorney to get on the stand and be like, well, Dan was filing things inappropriately or just rudely or whatever she was saying just seems a little condescending, and it doesn't matter what he was filing. Quite frankly, like, he had a right to defend himself and respond to any motions that Wendi filed. And I understand that they're trying to paint it as if Wendi is this, you know, damsel in distress, and she did nothing wrong, but que te lo crea tu mamá. After Kristen, defense called Linda Bailey, who is a family and marital law expert. Linda had the audacity to say that she felt like Wendi and Dan's divorce was routine and amicable. When I tell you that the prosecution absolutely got her during cross-examination, please believe me.
What is it you were asked to do in this case?
I was asked to review the documents I was given and to opine about whether this was truly a highly contentious custody case, essentially.
And why would your opinion about whether it was a highly contentious custody case matter?
Well, that's for somebody else to decide. I mean, I've done 2,000 cases, or give or take 100 on each side, and I think I have a pretty good judge of where this falls as far as contentiousness.
Sure, but you're somebody that has vast experience with a ton of divorces, right?
Sure.
The parties only have experience with one divorce, right?
I don't know how many they have experience with,
So
but
isn't
sure.
the contentiousness in the eye of the beholder, in the sense that to you it might not seem like a big deal, but to the parties it might be the most important thing in the whole wide world?
Well, that's one reason.
Do you agree with that?
Ms. Kappelman, Ms. Bailey, wait for the question, wait for the answer. Do not speak over each other.
Do you agree that a case, as a lawyer, might be routine, whereas to the parties it's the most important thing in the world?
To some degree. That's one reason I called Kristen, is Miss Adamson, in particular, of the lawyers in our community of the family law bar, is extremely measured and calm. And I find that when I litigate against her, we reach resolutions, that people stay measured and calm, and we get things done. She's not one of the other lawyers in town who may stir cases up or play on those emotions. So our job as lawyers is to explain to our clients when we get emotion. If I get something, for example, that, although I've never had, something similar to what Mr. Markell would file, the immediate response is to call your client and go, I know you're going to read this at first glance, it's going to seem messy, but there's no legal basis for this, so don't worry. And my understanding is that is what she communicated to Wendi.
And when you communicate these things to your clients, hey, this is no big deal, this is no problem, this is a bunch of gibberish, do they always accept that?
Well, that's not the way I would present it, but
Do they ever get upset about the gibberish in the pleadings, the offensive materials in the pleadings, regardless of whether or not it's going to impact their chance of success in court. It can be emotionally charged, can it?
I would say annoying more than emotionally charged.
You would not say that divorce and child custody issues are emotionally charged?
They can be, but in this case, they weren't.
They weren't? How do you know?
From the pleadings, because I don't have 10,000 pages in front of me.
You're not in the mind of the people whose lives are impacted by these pleadings. It's not just about pieces of paper and a binder, is it?
I don't think that's what I said.
People's lives are impacted by the decisions that go on in court, which for you are routine. Would you agree?
In this instance, they reached agreement on all issues, so they had complete control of what was coming out of the court.
Ma'am, could you please answer my question? Are people's lives impacted in drastic ways by routine matters that we see in court as lawyers?
People's lives change after divorce, certainly.
So, like, I may think I've got a bag of stinky garbage, but the garbage man might not think it's stinky at all. Do you get the reference?
I don't.
What is no big deal to us is a big deal to these litigants, right? You can't agree with that. You can't agree with it. Strike the question.
When Linda had the audacity to say that divorces aren't necessarily bad and aren't necessarily contentious, she lost me. Everything she said past then, I was like, whatever. Basically, I think that is an ill-formed thought and opinion to make. I think it is insensitive. It doesn't take into account the lives of all the people who are ruined when divorces happen and when child custody disputes occur. That is what I'll say about that. I think Georgia's cross-examination of her was phenomenal. I think Georgia got to the points that many of us were thinking. But, let me know if you disagree with me down below. And after that, the defense called Donna's former defense attorney, Marissel Descalzo, to testify. But wait, what is that important phrase that we were talking about earlier? Attorney-client privilege. So how on earth was Donna's former defense attorney able to testify about their private communications? In this case, Donna had to waive, and so she did.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
You can lower your hand. You understand with your former, or I guess I don't know the relationship exactly, but someone who has previously represented you, concerning their testimony today, are you waiving attorney-client privilege concerning what they will testify about?
Yes, I am.
Concerning that, Mr. Zellman, do you wish the court to make any further call?
Yes, Your Honor, the waiver is specific as to the counsel that our client received from Ms. Descalzo.
Well, you need to discuss with her what she's waiving, that's fine. I don't believe you can waive on her behalf. Mrs. Adelson, do you understand the scope of the waiver that you're providing? Do you understand the scope of the waiver that you're providing of attorney-client privilege?
I do.
What is that scope?
The information that we discussed after my son's trial regarding my travel, my state of mind.
Is the defense planning to examine this witness on any other topics than what has been identified as the scope of the waiver?
No, Your Honor.
Very well. If any matters are inquired into that exceed the scope at that point, we are going to have to send the jury out of the room. As I previously stated before, the state is permitted to cross-examine as to all topics that are inquired to on the defense direct, and also as well matters of impeachment and bias. Does the state need to be heard in any way?
That's okay.
Attorney-client privilege merely exists to protect the client from having their confidential communications that they make to their attorney as part of the attorney's representation of them from being broadcasted, made public, distributed, or told to anyone else. Attorney-client privilege is so impenetrable that the only way to penetrate it is honestly for the client to waive attorney-client privilege. In a lot of situations, death might penetrate attorney-client privilege, but I've even heard in some jurisdictions that's not even enough. You might even need a written waiver before the client dies. I just want you guys to know about how serious of a subject matter we are talking about here. As far as Marissel's testimony itself is concerned, she testified about Donna Sue Adelson's state of mind after Charlie's conviction. She testified about the fact that there were no travel restrictions preventing Donna from going to Vietnam. And she also testified that she had called and seen if there was a warrant out for Donna's arrest prior to Donna's travel, and there wasn't one. I think Marissel's testimony is typical. I think she's trying to protect her client. I think she's saying things that are true, but that don't really matter, right? So who cares whether or not there were travel restrictions imposed? I feel like most people knowing that you might be the subject of a criminal investigation aren't trying to go to a non-extraditable country and booking a one-way ticket to get there. The fact that there wasn't a warrant out for her arrest at that time doesn't really mean much because we all knew, including Donna, that it was coming. So her state of mind after Charlie's conviction is irrelevant to me. I don't think she even cares about her son. I don't think she cares about anyone but herself. So you're sad because your son got convicted, not because he got convicted, but because you knew that you were going next. Marissel's testimony meant absolutely nothing to me, but I mean, kudos to her for doing it. After one additional witness, the court advised Donna Sue Adelson of her right to testify should she choose. And after that advisement, Donna made her decision.
At this point, I do need a decision. Mrs. Adelson, please rise. You've been placed under oath earlier this afternoon. Mrs. Adelson, I will advise you concerning your rights. You understand that you have the right to remain silent, and the jury will be instructed that your silence cannot be held against you in determining the merits of this case. Do you understand this?
Do understand?
Do you also understand that you have the right to testify as a witness in your case in chief on your own behalf?
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
You understand if you do choose to take the witness stand, you will be cross-examined by one of the prosecutors.
Yes, I'm aware of it.
You understand that your credibility will be placed before the jury like any other witness.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
Have you been able to discuss with your attorneys the two rights that the court has placed before you?
Yes, we discussed the rights.
Concerning those rights as to whether you will remain silent or whether you will testify, have you made a decision concerning this matter?
I haven't. I'm not prepared to make that decision. This decision affects the rest of my life.
Mrs. Adelson, you're in the same position as every other criminal defendant who faces trial. Ultimately, you must decide whether you will testify or whether you will not. I cannot make you testify. Your attorneys cannot make you testify. But ultimately, you must choose whether you will testify or not.
I don't have to choose. I was hoping that we'd have some time to speak to my attorney.
This has already been discussed, ma'am. What is your choice?
Judge, since I was handling the prior witnesses while Ms. Fulford was speaking with Ms. Adelson, can I have a few minutes, please?
What exactly are we going to accomplish that we have not been able to since the trial started, pre-trial, the long recess yesterday, or even the lunch break today?
That's what I'm trying to determine, Your Honor.
I will give you exactly 5 additional minutes. From there, Mrs. Adelson has to make a decision whether she will testify or whether she will not.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If anyone in the gallery needs to use the restroom or stretch your legs, this is your opportunity at this point. Everyone can be seated. Mrs. Elman, Ms. Fulford, Mrs. Adelson, the extra time that you have been provided, that has come to a conclusion. We are not finished with the colloquy quite yet. I am not talking for the sake of talking. Before we have to move into any contempt, we do need to move on. Mrs. Edison, the question remains. As it relates to your right to remain silent and your right to testify, what is your decision concerning these two rights?
This time I don't want to testify.
After Donna's decision not to testify, defense rested their case. I don't know if we've talked about procedure much, but I just want to explain this to you. The prosecution has the burden of proof. Their case will always go first. If defense decides to put on a case, their case will go next. And after defense rests, and if the prosecution chooses to, they can put on a rebuttal case. The prosecution did not choose to do that here, and so that's what it was. A rebuttal case merely is what it sounds like. It's a case that will dispute any of the allegations that were made by any of the defense witnesses. So for example, let's say one of the defense witnesses said something that can be contradicted if they were to recall a prosecution witness, and the prosecution felt it was absolutely imperative to recall that witness. That's what a rebuttal case is for. But like I said here, the prosecutors knew that their evidence was strong enough that a rebuttal case wasn't really necessary. That leads us into the very next day of trial, Thursday, September 4th of 2025. Prior to closings occurring, defense re-raised their MJOA motion, which was ultimately denied by the court once more. After denial of defense's renewed MJOA, the prosecution gave its closing argument. In her closing, Georgia was concise. She stuck to the points. She was very detailed, but she told the jurors exactly what she wanted them to remember based on all the testimony that they had heard for the last 2 weeks. After the prosecution delivered its close, Jackie Fulford, on behalf of Donna Sue Adelson, did exactly the same. In Jackie's close, she pointed out to some inconsistencies in the prosecution's case in chief. What I will tell you though, and I know that we all dislike Donna, but I'm here just to be an unbiased, neutral party. I thought that Jackie's close was really good. I do. I thought it was good. It didn't hold much weight because we already are of the opinion that Donna is guilty, but I thought that her close was really good nonetheless. She did a good job. After Jackie's close, Georgia delivered her rebuttal, and I thought her rebuttal was quite interesting.
Well, y'all tired of hearing lawyers talk yet? Down for another hour or two? Kidding. I think I've got 7 minutes. He hasn't started the timer yet. I haven't. Okay. It does not matter what Miss Fulford thinks, if she's right, if she's wrong, if I'm right, if I'm wrong. What the lawyers say is not evidence. You have the evidence before you. They say it means one thing. I say it means something else. Only you guys decide, right? I think outside your house means outside your house. But apparently outside your house means something else. I think a very contentious divorce means a very contentious divorce. They think it means an amicable divorce. You guys decide, right? Look at the evidence and you guys decide. Is everything not what it seems and actually something else? You guys decide. A TV repair appointment is not an alibi because she could have changed it to earlier, but she didn't change it to earlier. That's where she was when he was getting killed. That's an alibi. This TV, that doesn't mean, that's not code, that's a hint. A hint for what? It's code. What does it involve? The two of us. Oh, well, that actually means it doesn't involve the two of us because we're being extorted, we're victims, it doesn't involve us. So what does it involve? The two of us actually means it does not involve the two of us. That's what we've heard. A one-way non-extradition ticket to Vietnam? It's not fleeing. It's a setup. How did I set her up? I didn't make her do that. I didn't get her a fast-track visa. I didn't get her a one-way ticket. She did that. She made those choices. Wendi didn't bother to tell her mom she was ready to give up on the relocation. Yes, she did. Look in the emails. She was giving up and Donna wasn't having it. That's when she gets the totally unhinged email from her mother suggesting, you're not going to give up. You want to move on with a sense of peace? Hell no, we're going to fight this guy. We're going to dress your kids up as Nazis. That's what happened when when Wendi suggested giving up. Never, never, never give up, right? This murder charge is not based on the fact that she said some bad words. I mean, I'd be facing murder just in this courtroom. Obviously, people. That is not what this case is about. You've got to look at all the evidence. I mean, it is death by 1,000 cuts. It is powdered sugar. You've got to look at the whole thing and make a decision. And I'm sorry that there's not a smoking gun, but she was too smart for that. She thought about it. She planned it. She made sure we could never get her, right? She took precautions, but she did make mistakes. And that's what all those exhibits are. Mistakes. My spin and the spin I'm putting on all the evidence, that's not, it doesn't matter what my spin is. It's your spin. You look at the evidence, you decide. I tell you what I think it shows. They tell you what they think it shows. And there's the other side. And what do they think it shows? They don't have to prove anything. I have to prove the case. Yes. But what are they saying? Wendi. Charlie, definitely. Wendi, maybe. Not Donna. But also, not Charlie. We were getting extorted. Not Charlie. I mean, you can't have it both ways, right? It's like hard to get your head around it, but we can't be getting extorted by the killers who killed Dan Markell on their own. And also, Charlie's pretty guilty and Wendi looks a little guilty too. It's got it like, there's no lane that's been picked. And they don't have to prove anything, but they're throwing all that out, right? And it's like, you were getting extorted, or Charlie and Wendi did it behind your back and they don't tell mom what they're doing. Can't charge Donna because Charlie already went down for this. No, that's not true. Everyone that's responsible for this murder should be held accountable for their role, not just Charlie, not just the two killers that came here and shot him. Everyone that played a part in it should be held accountable.
In Georgia's rebuttal, she was essentially laughing at the claims made by defense. She kind of had a lot of fun with it. She was laughing, she was toying, she was joking. But one of the things that I found that she did was really important was that she admitted to the fact that most of their case was circumstantial. After Georgia's rebuttal closed, the case was given to the jurors for their deliberation, and merely 3 hours later, they had informed the court that they had reached a verdict. Before bringing the jurors back in to read their verdicts, the court gave every member of that courtroom a very strong admonition against emotional outbursts.
When the verdict is published, I want to make sure everyone understands whatever the verdict will be in this case. I do not want there to be any gesturing or any making any movements that you either agree or disagree with the verdict. We are going to respect what the jury's decision is, and we are not going to subject them to any displays of emotion, whether it be from the gallery, from the parties. If anyone believes they are not capable of following this instruction, I'd ask you to step outside at this time. Mrs. Adelson also as well. Once the verdict is read, again, I'm going to advise you, do not have any displays of emotion as best you can. You are in control yourself. Do you understand?
After the admonition was given, the court brought the jurors right back into the courtroom, and Donna heard her fate.
Having reviewed the verdict form, it is in its proper order. At this time, I will publish the verdict. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Mrs. Adelson, control yourself. Count 2. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 2 of the indictment, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Count 3. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 3 of the indictment, solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder. And it is signed and dated by the foreperson. One moment. Members of the jury, the bailiff will escort you to the jury room. Mrs. Adelson, while this was not the outcome I'm sure that you desired, there will not be any further outbursts in front of the jury. If you cannot control yourself, I am going to have to determine if you will be removed from the remainder of this process. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Do you need a moment to collect yourself? Before the jurors are brought back in, we will take a brief 2-minute break. Please give her tissues if she needs them.
I think, much like the prosecutor in this case, Georgia, that most of the evidence here in Donna's case was pretty much circumstantial. I think that the evidence against Donna wasn't necessarily the strongest. There wasn't many direct links to Donna, but nonetheless, the evidence was what it was. The court admonishes the jurors in every trial ever that direct and circumstantial evidence is supposed to be given the exact same amount of weight. Despite the fact that this case, in my opinion, and in Georgia's opinion, was mostly circumstantial, the prosecution delivered as it should have. The fact that Donna decided to cry, and I say that inquisitively because were there tears coming out of her eyes? Whatever, the fact that Donna decided to do whatever it is she does isn't surprising. It's just kind of ludicrous to me. Everyone in America knew you were guilty. So why are you surprised that the jurors reached the right decision? The court set Donna's sentencing out merely on the request of defense. But remember, first-degree murder is a mandatory life sentence. They set it out for the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and the solicitation of first-degree murder charges because she's going to get some additional time on those 2 charges, but the first-degree murder, she's doing life. I think that the jurors reached the right decision. I'm so excited for the Markell family and on their mission of justice. I'm really hoping, as I'm sure most of the rest of you are as well, that we see Wendi get charged next. I'm really hoping to see her taken down. It's just unfair. It's unfair that now these boys have to live without their father because the Adelsons just thought they ran the world. But I want to know all of your thoughts down below. What do you think of defense's case? Do you think that the judge was too strict in telling people not to show emotion? Do you think that the prosecution will eventually charge Wendi? Just let me know all of your thoughts down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, y'all take care.